politician.
Okay. Okay. I have had recently some emails. Is somebody going to interpret?
No. Everyone, I think everyone understands English,
okay.
So maybe we don't need this time.
Except the cook. He doesn't speak.
Okay. Recently I had some emails exchange with David Taylor. Some of you know David Taylor. He's my student. He's John Fraser's student from Glasgow. And his questions are very interesting. And basically, his questions are about how should we become better, basically. So I want to talk about how should we become better. Many people think that Buddhism is about becoming better people. We can follow the Buddhist rules and precepts which tell us things that we should not do, and we can follow the path, the Buddhist path, and learn to speak properly and not be angry and become better people. But this understanding is completely wrong. Buddhism is not at all about becoming better. Many people think that it is, especially in Europe, because we have a very long history of Christianity. And in Christianity, we want to become like God, slowly. And then we go to heaven. Up there. If we become bad, we go down there. So of course we want to become better. So because of this long history, which is deep in our brain, we think that Buddhism is about becoming better. No, it's not. Buddhism is about becoming who we already are. Who are we already? Oh, not that person. I don't like that person. That person is sometimes not good enough. I want to be better. I don't like the person I am. So it's quite natural that we want to become better. However, the teachings which I studied in Japan, which came through Zen Master Dogen, tell us to find ourselves. Not the ourself which we want to be, but the self which we already are. And this is the reason why it's very difficult. How do I find who I already am? Well, if we practice something like Zazen, something which allows us to put our body and mind right, we notice that we have many layers of ourself. We have many stories. And we believe that those stories are us. So I have a story. my name is Mike, and I sometimes teach about what I learned in Japan. And I'm living in the Czech Republic now, and I used to live in England. That's my public story. And I have a private story, which is what kind of person I am and what things I don't like about myself and what I'm going to do in the future. So we all have many, many stories, some which we only tell ourselves secretly, and some which we tell ourselves and other people. And we like to repeat those stories so that we don't forget them. So we talk to other people when we meet them. Oh, what's your name? Oh, what do you do? Okay. Are you married? Do you have children? Where do you live? And then we tell our story. And when we tell our story, we feel more comfortable. So some people enjoy very much repeating their story again and again. And some people's story are very sad or not happy. And they like to tell those stories again and again too. No, I'm not good at doing that. No, I can't do that. I'm a very shy person. Yes, yes. Oh no, I couldn't do that. Or the opposite. No, I'm very clever. I can do anything. I know everything. All these stories we invent about ourselves, and then we repeat them to ourselves and to other people. And when we practice Zazen, or something like Zazen, we are sitting in a posture which is balanced. I use the word balanced a lot. And when we're sitting in that posture, our stories come and go in our minds. We can see those stories. But if we practice something like Zazen regularly, maybe every day, or several times a week, and if we continue for some time, some months or some years, we find something underneath the stories. Whether we're practicing Zazen or whether we're involved in some intensive sport or whether we're pursuing some musical activity, if we pursue that activity on and on, we notice that underneath our stories there is something else. The man whose teachings I studied in Japan, Dogen, wrote a chapter in which he talks about the sea. The chapter is called The State Like the Sea. On the top of the sea there are many waves, and sometimes there are storms and the wind is blowing. But deep down at the bottom of the sea is always calm. And we can notice that same situation in ourselves if we practice something like Zazen for some time. Underneath these waves, which are our stories, deep down there is something calm. And in the Buddhist writings from past teachings, the teachers gave it a name. They called it Buddha nature. But the thing is, everybody is like this. Everybody has something calm deep down. But most people don't do something like Zazen, which enables them to notice it. When we notice it, we also at the same time notice the nature of our stories. Most of our descriptions of ourselves and other people are connected with stories. Somebody said to me today and before, "Oh, you moved to the Czech Republic from England. You're very brave." Brave is part of a story. You're very brave. I'm not brave. I'm very frightened. So all these words are kind of stories. And when we tell ourselves, "I'm frightened," "No, I'm frightened," "No, I can't do that, I'm frightened," or opposite, "I can do that, I'm..." When we tell ourselves these stories, we are, in a way, we are trapping ourselves. You understand trap? Mm-hmm. We put ourselves in a cage or a box. I'm like this. I'm not like that. I can't be like that. I'm like this. And of course our box can be very comfortable. And many people choose to live inside their box. And it's okay. So I'm not suggesting that we should jump out of our box. I'm only suggesting we need to notice. When people talk about getting better, they usually mean to think what we would like to be and then to try to become like that. But strangely, if we notice how we are and notice what our stories are, something changes. So in the teachings which I studied, there is no need, there is no teaching that we must become better. However, if we practice something like Zazen and notice that we have some kind of deeper situation or state, and therefore we notice all our stories, noticing those stories itself changes something. So in Buddhist teachings, to realize what we are like is everything. We don't need to try to change. We just need to realize clearly what we are like. But many people interpret Buddhism as telling us how we should be and how to become like that. But Dogen teaches us to find out what we are like. He says, study ourselves. And when we study ourselves and notice what we're like, something changes. How does it change? I don't know. It's a mystery. And that same mystery is everywhere. Even in science, it's a mystery. Science tries to explain how everything changes. A changes to B. But actually, it's impossible. So science has to look more closely. And then it can't see how something changes, so it looks more closely again. And you can see the result in projects like the European Atomic Collider, which is
CERN.
What's it called? CERN. It's huge, massive power, so that they can get small pieces of reality and bang them together and then look and see closer. And then maybe next year they will do it again. So in the same way, we can't see how we change. We can try and try and try. It's a mystery. But in Dogen's teachings, realizing how we are now changes something. And he also says we shouldn't worry about what the change is. Very strange. So we don't need to improve. We just need to find out how we are. Well, that's not easy. And then something changes. And he says the best way that he knows in 13th century Japan to find out how we are is to practice zazen. But he says there are many, many, many ways to find out how we are. But in 13th century Japan, I guess there weren't so many alternatives. So to live in a special temple, separate from a very severe daily life in 13th century Japan, go to live in a special place where you are free to study yourself. In 21st century Slovakia, we can study ourselves more easily. We can come here for 3 days and practice something which shows us which parts of us are stories. The word Buddha, which is the basis of Buddhism, comes from the Sanskrit verb bud. And the Sanskrit verb bud means to wake up. So Buddha, which is the past participle of bud, means woken up, somebody who has woken up. And many people think that it means you wake up from some strange state and you become into a beautiful state called enlightenment. But I don't think it means that at all. I think to wake up is to wake up not from something, not wake up from a strange state and find a perfect state, but to wake up to something. And to wake up to how we are. Many people lead such busy, stressful lives, they don't have any space to see how they are, and they're happy like that. But if we have the space to find out how we are, and we notice the stories that we tell ourselves, and how those stories keep us here, then it's enough. So, to wake up, to be a Buddha, for me, is to wake up to those stories. Not to stop the stories, not to change the stories, just to wake up to the stories, to notice them. So when David Taylor sent me an email about becoming better, I started to think what Dogen's teachings are about becoming better, and that's the result. Of course, it doesn't mean we have to become worse. It means we can be as we are. And it's quite difficult to be as we are, because we feel sometimes we're playing a role at work, at home. We have to. So if we're in business or politics, we have to play a role. And I'm playing a role now, because I have to be like a teacher. So it's not me. You can't see me. You can only see the role I'm playing. So if we know that we're playing a role, it's fine. We don't need to change it. We just need to notice it. So I don't mean to suggest we need to change anything. I just mean that to notice things, to notice how we are, how the world is really everything. And to notice doesn't always mean to think about. I found many things about myself from mountaineering. I didn't think about myself, but I learnt many things about myself. So that's one way to learn about yourself, is some kind of intensive activity. It can be anything. So I don't mean that to find out or notice ourselves is something we need to think about. Of course, we're always thinking, so we can't stop thinking. But when I say notice ourselves, I don't mean to think about ourselves. Dogen says, to study ourselves is to forget ourselves. What can that mean? Well, one meaning could be, for instance, if we do some sport very intensively, we forget about who we are. We forget our stories. There is no time to think about our stories. Oh, I can't do that, I'm frightened. There's no time. Just we do it. So in that kind of simple action, we forget about ourselves, but the experience itself, we learn about ourselves. So in Dogen's teachings, action, doing something, is very important. Because in action, we study ourselves and we forget ourselves, both. So I stop talking now, and it's up to you. If you have any comments or questions.
I've heard about scientific study of practitioners of meditation. It was not specified closely which kind of meditation it was, but the result of the study was roughly said that it strengthens the ego of the practitioners. So they were trying to become better, but they became more egoistic and self-centered and tough.
Well, I don't know what kind of meditation that was.
I don't know. Me neither.
Well, I think the fact of becoming
Yes.
is actually the working of the ego.
Yes,
Because,
you can say so.
Yeah. Because what ego does, it
Yes.
always tries to become something,
Yes,
to protect its
Yes.
borders and strength.
yes.
But I wouldn't call it becoming. But what I was thinking about is that if you want to practice meditation or zazen,
Yes,
there must be an order. I mean,
Discipline.
I wouldn't call it discipline, I mean order. If you want to find the keys in this house, you know there are the keys for my car, but there is a mess. You probably will not find the keys. But if you make an order here, then in the practice of making an order, you may find the keys from your car. So, for me, trying to make an order in my life kind of helps me to practice zazen, or practice regularly, and also it kind of it's se řekne, že se to vzájemně podmiňuje.
It's interdependent.
It's interdependent, yeah. So I don't mean making an order and then practice zazen. It's kind of interdependent. Order jako pořádek.
But on a superficial level, and thinking more about like Western way of thinking, that it's very Western, this idea that we can be better,
yeah,
and we can achieve something more, and
Yeah.
you always want, you need to aim to achieve something, otherwise you're wrong. This is more like American, I
yeah,
would say in America this is, the main interpretation I would say of what it means to grow up, and sometimes in a very superficial level, when you were saying that it's just what you are, for example, I still practice because I want to become more disciplined, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
there is something that I want,
yeah,
but sometimes it feels that it's contradictory because you shouldn't want anything. I mean, if you approach the practice wanting something,
yeah,
as one of the comments I was reading saying, it will keep moving farther and farther away from you, right?
yeah,
But on the other hand, if I want to become a better practitioner, I do have to sit every day somehow. So for me, this is very superficial, not so deep as you were talking about realizing who we already are, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But I do aim to be more disciplined, for example. I do want
Well,
to be more disciplined.
You know, I don't know to make a horse go forward, there's a story where you put a carrot in front of the horse, right? So we need to put the carrot in front of our mouth. Then it makes us do something. But we never get the carrot. So why do we make an aim? Do we come to our aim? So, but we need an aim. So we need the carrot, otherwise we don't move. But we don't need to eat the carrot. We just need to have the carrot here. Yeah.
This is a simple reality of some psychological process, the carrot.
Yes.
This mechanism is automatically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like wind or like eating. It's automatically process of the psychology process.
Yeah, we're human.
We're human beings are doing this.
Yeah. We need an aim.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's normal.
Yeah. But in Dogen's teachings, we need an aim, but our aim is here.
Yes.
So it's very strange.
Yes.
So we need the carrot, which is the aim, but our aim is to need the carrot.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's forget it. I can't. I don't think. There's a very beautiful poem which I like, which is by an Irish poet called T.S. Eliot, and it says, "We are always exploring through our lives, but in the end, we searching to find where we are now." And that's true. Everything we do is to find where we are now, because there is nowhere else. It's impossible to find anywhere else than here. So, but we make a dream and we make a carrot and we chase after it, and then after chasing the carrot, I give up. Then we're happy. This happened to me with mountaineering. For many years I was chasing after the top of the mountain, and then I went to the Himalayas and climbed some high mountains. And when I got to the top of one mountain, I thought, oh, I'm just here. And after that I stopped mountaineering. Because I realised that I didn't need to chase the mountain anymore, and it was very happy for me. But I did need to chase the mountain. Sorry. But to do something without any aim is quite difficult. But we do all the time. But normally we make an aim and then we try to get there.
But you still put the carrot in front of you?
I don't use it so much.
Okay, but sometimes.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
But sometimes I need it. So, for instance, before I moved to live in Czechia in February, March, I had the aim, I'm going there. So I have to sort out my house, and then I go, and then I'm here. Oh, okay, now I'm here.
What's next?
Yeah. So you need an aim, but I don't make so many aims. But I find it quite difficult not to have an aim. Think, well, what am I doing? Well, I'm just doing this. So there's one of Dogen's teachings is that our aim is what we are doing now. But that's very difficult. Very difficult. So you can say the most happy, satisfied state is to be completely happy with what we have now and what we're doing now. But it's very difficult.
If we choose a name, we never know the final cost.
Say again?
If we choose a name at the beginning, somehow we choose a dream.
Yeah.
And we go for it. We don't know the final cost.
Oh no, that's true. And sometimes it's better not to find our aim. It's good to have a dream, but sometimes it's not good to find a dream. It's not like we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So all of Dogen's teachings are very simple. They're too simple, really. But in this modern world, which is full of complicated human activity and stress and worry and very complicated situations, we need simple teachings. Very, very, very simple teachings.
But I think the improvement is possible, and that there are many improvements which are worthwhile to pursue. So I think it's good to have aims. I think it's good to have a balance, not to overdo it, because if you have too many aims, then you may stress you too much, so you are too busy. But to have some balanced number of aims, it's good, and you can achieve them, and they may improve your life and so on. So it's good to. I think it's good to be satisfied.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can have aims which are worthwhile.
Yeah. Can. But whether we ever reach the aim, and when we reach that aim, whether it's the same as we thought or not.
Yeah, it will be not the same as it was in our imagination. Yes.
And when we improve ourselves, whether we're better than we were or not, it's impossible to know. Because if somebody asks me, oh, you practiced Zazen for 40 years, have you become better? I don't know.
Yes, you don't know because you have no way to compare with another with another mic which wouldn't do it.
Yes.
So you have no way really to know. But but I think you know that if you do some worthwhile activity, then it improves something. So
maybe, yeah.
So the aim is nothing else than just direction.
Pardon?
It's just the aim is just the same
Direction.
thing as direction.
Yeah. So life has a direction, yeah.
Or the activity.
Yeah. But in society, we have to live in society, and society and civilization, we create, human beings created with our ideas. So then we share the ideas and we agree. So there's something called a retreat, but a dog or a cat doesn't know what is a retreat, only human beings, because I said the word retreat and you understand the word retreat, so then we can make an aim to go to a retreat. So in a way, we have to have very simple teachings like Dogen's teachings, and then our complicated life in two hands. And then we have to put them together and have both at the same time. So aim, but no aim. We want to improve, but we know that realizing ourselves is improving.
So when cat is catching a mouse, it hasn't got this sophisticated aim.
No.
It's just that very kind of immediate aim.
Yes.
He's just being a cat, I guess.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah.
the simple.
Yeah.
So
So
I
we
could
have
go
to.
to retreat the same way, in principle. It just happens to be in my way, and I enjoy that step and the next step, and place. Yeah. And now I also know it's called retreat, but I didn't know while I was getting there. Oh, that's quite
Yeah. So
extreme.
ancient teachers wrote about this kind of experience. So, for instance, in the 2nd century, a Buddhist teacher called Nagarjuna wrote in one of his books, essays. He didn't write a book, he wrote lots of essays. Very strange. He said there's no movement. We talk about movement. It doesn't exist. Just I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. So sounds very weird, strange. But at the same time, it's kind of true. Just now, just now, just now. But we put together now, here, and we have past, and then present, and the future. So we make it. It's a story, and we share the story. And I know it's true because I have this. Just before it was 12 o'clock. Now it's 10 minutes past 12, and time is moving. So my story is very strong. So time is moving. But at a very, very basic level, for instance, Nagarjuna said, it's a story. It's okay, we live in the story. The story's okay, you can't get rid of it, but notice it's a story. Time is a story.
Death is also. Death
is a story. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to die. Now I'm living, boom, now I'm gone. So it's very strange. Many of these teachings are quite strange, but in the modern world we have found that activity, many kinds of activity are important. So we're using our brains very much. So we go to the exercise gymnasium, or we go running or something. And in that activity, we find the present. So we leave our story in the office, computer, whatever, emails, meetings, and we go at something very simple. Oh, it's now. It's now. And then we feel better. I found it, I'm now. I found I'm here, now. Then next morning we go back to work. Meeting, an email. Then we go back to the gym. Oh, I'm now. I'm here. I'm now. And the zazen is the same.
And in zazen you can notice that the stories are quite powerful.
Very powerful.
And you have different layers of powerfulness.
Yes. And we feel sometimes, even in zazen, we have some kind of story, it's too much. But we notice it. Even it feels too much, we notice it. That's enough. It's enough. Just you notice it. Oh.
Not good or bad stories, there are only stories.
Good stories, bad stories, yeah. Doesn't matter.
I think also some psychological recommendations, like for example some say, okay, if you are in anger or if you are in some real suffer, just try to imagine that's only a child in you who is experiencing it, and just make this child like this.
Yeah.
And I think this is the method how you can psychologically a bit do this noticing.
Yeah.
Think that that's not completely me. It's just the child in me.
Yeah.
Who does experience it like
I know that very well.
And it gives you back to the moment. Okay, it's happening. There is not a lot you can do. It's happening, but that's not me. I would say fully me.
Well, it is. I mean,
it is, and it isn't.
I've got a little boy inside, but it's not inside. Sometimes it's me. But when I notice, then it's okay. Then.
But he can. This little boy can stop acting more quick.
Stop acting? He doesn't stop.
Especially speaking about anger, so I can a little bit manage.
Yeah, well, there are many psychological methods to help us to understand ourselves. Yeah. So we can use them if we need to go to see a therapist or something and find out about why we're angry and kind of little child we were and so on. Yes. It's part of things that human beings have discovered. So we can use everything. Should we stop? And then in 15 minutes time we practice Dogen.
Yeah.
Or is there any more comments?
About the regularity of the practice. So it seems that these stories are
We are perfect as we are, all the leaves and the trees said. So if you have something to talk about or a question,
I'm sorry, I'm always talking.
are you?
Roman and I were discussing yesterday something related to compassion.
Oh,
And all sentient beings, like talking about animals and other beings, and how the practice could also, one could also aim to develop more compassion towards all sentient beings, and this idea of wanting to be a bodhisattva so everybody wakes up, including including animals and so on. And we were talking about this because of being vegetarian, not being vegetarian. Not that it's very important, but I was telling Roman that sometimes I got very confused because when I started practicing in Theravada, you would have meditations to develop unconditional love, compassion, and it seemed that you kind of wanted to get better, to help others, so it kind of has to do something with what you were saying before. But I just wanted to know your take on that.
I don't know anything about anything except what I studied in Japan, and I don't know anything about developing compassion. If somebody told me it's part of Buddhism, I'd like to say to them, no, it's not. Because if we want to develop something, how can we have it already? And Dogen is very clear, we have everything already. And the leaves told me in the toilet, everything is perfect already. So why should we develop compassion? But we may be able to find our own compassion, which is here already. But to find our own compassion, which is here already, we just need to take off all the things which we cover it with. So it's underneath. So underneath we're perfect, but we put lots of things on top. So my kind of Buddhism is like a strip act, taking off the layers. And underneath is everything. Everything that is existing. And if you talk about compassion, it must be there. Everything is there. Because underneath all our layers and our conditioning, we're Buddhas. So to develop compassion to me is a crazy idea. Sounds like Christianity to me. No, Christianity's been very, very helpful to civilization and done many good things in the world. But we can notice that for instance, Christianity did many good things, but also did many bad things. There's two sides. So all spiritual religions have two sides, because they separate good, compassion, love, and hate, wrong, bad, sin. But in Dogen's teachings, they're not separate. So if we take everything away, which is covering up our Buddha nature, we can find love, hate, compassion, selfishness, everything is there. But it doesn't have any label. It's just something which contains all. So that's what I think.
And regarding, for example, other beings, our impact, for example, eating meat, not eating meat, taking care of the environment, our individual impact and contribution, does it has to do with Buddhism? I mean, is there...
Oh, they say so, but on the other hand, there seems to be a story that Buddha ate meat. So meat comes from animals. So I think it's nice to be vegetarian. I think that there are some disadvantages with eating a lot of meat, physically, to us. But I don't think it's necessary, and I don't see that it's connected with Buddhism as I understand it. But there's lots of different understandings. That's the difficulty. And if you read Buddhist books, they all say something different. So what should you think? What should you believe? It's up to you.
But sometimes it seems that animals are really realizing their Buddha nature more than...
They already got it.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, when we were discussing thinking, a dog is just a dog, and sometimes I look at my dog and she's just happy being a dog. And
a dog has got Buddha nature, but it doesn't know it. It doesn't need to know it. But you can make a dog or some pet, you can make them conditioned. And then they become a little bit more like humans. They're covered up. But if you take an unconditioned wild animal, then they're the same as Buddha. They are. And babies. And trees and leaves.
They seem to be in the present all the time, because there is no story.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah, we're in the present all the time too. We just forget it. So we think, should I eat meat? Should I not eat meat? And even there's no food here, but still we're thinking, should I eat meat? Should I not eat meat? Well, where's the food? That's the human condition. Yeah. But we have to live as humans. So we can say, don't worry about the future, just be now. But actually, we can't stop worrying about the future. Well, don't worry about what's good and bad, just live. But we can't stop worrying about what's good and bad. But we can notice that situation.
According to Dogen, do we strive for Buddhahood, for Bodhisattva? Is there this same concept of wanting to help every other being to...
Well, Dogen's... yes, but what is wanting to help somebody else? Is it different to wanting to help yourself? If you look at doing something for somebody else, are you doing it for somebody else or for yourself? Or both? and always we're doing it for ourselves and for somebody else. So selfish and unselfish are the same. Only we separate them in our mind, say, oh, he's selfish, he's only doing it for himself. But of course, people do sometimes something for themselves. But it's not necessary to make special effort to do something only for other people, because it's for ourselves too.
What's your view as about his about politics, or go involved in politics?
What?
Or to get involved in politics? What's your point of view as a Buddhist?
I don't know if I'm a Buddhist really, but I think to be in politics, I can't imagine, because I think you need to be very tough. Like you're able to not to be hurt by other people, for example, and not to change your opinion if somebody says something. So those qualities I don't have. So if I see somebody in politics, I think, wow, they have very special ability to be tough. But politics itself often, almost always, seems to be pursuit of power. However, there are sometimes politicians who are not pursuing power, and they can be very useful and helpful. And the previous Czech president, Václav Havel, I think was like that, but people didn't like him in the end, and they didn't see the benefit of his attitude. But I don't know very much about how politics works. So that's all I can say, really. I can't imagine what it's like, because I can't. I'm not tough to work in that environment. I can't imagine. So, but everybody's free to live how they want. So, to be a politician is one way to live. And certainly in the current world, something has to change, because the world is driven by a kind of machine which is pursuing power, fame, and money, and it's becoming stronger and stronger. So people feel this in all countries, in Europe, for example, and in the States, and they don't know what to do. They see the politicians pursuing power, pursuing money, pursuing fame, but not producing benefit, so that people don't know what to do. So maybe a politician has to be a leader. don't know what else to say. Traditionally, Buddhist priests traditionally keep away from politics in theory, but in practice there's been quite a lot of connection between Buddhism and politics. In China, for example, there are some Chinese very powerful politicians in the past were Buddhists.
For me, the Zen and politics, they are quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Because in Zen you are trying to don't care about anything, basically, and in politics you have to care about everything.
Yeah.
So how do you to compensate these things, or how you can live in peace?
But it's the same with any other profession. I don't think that there is. Yes, of course, politicians are a special group of people, but in fact, it's similar decision making and conflicts of interest than when you have a managerial position or when you are a doctor or whatever. It's like either living in normal life or going to some retreat sort of life. I think that's all. It's not politicians are not politicians.
And I don't think that Zen is not caring about anything. I think this is not like that. Why it should be like this?
I think the same way as you said that Buddhists in the past were not involved in politics, they were not involved in business, they were not involved in many things. So it's not about politicians being a politician. It's just involvement in life with the full responsibility and all the colors of life with all the impact, or going somewhere in a silent place where you don't have to face all those aspects.
Yes.
And I think you can live both.
Yes.
In one person.
Yes.
Vatican is an example for not doing business.
Who?
Vatican is an example for not doing business.
Not doing politics.
And politics for 100 of years. Tradition, very secret tradition. Power.
We talk about Zen as if it exists. Of course it doesn't. Only people exist. And there's a kind of image of Zen which is no intention and living in a temple in the forest and early in the morning, boom, incense. But it's only a dream. There's no place like that. If you go to Japan, you can't find like that. You can find real people, and all different kinds. Some priests are very involved in political situations, and some want to live alone. So I think the image of Zen is just an image, just a story. But there's always a middle way. There's always a balance between opposite things. So if you take, for instance, being a politician and practicing Zazen, well, there's somewhere in the middle. You can practice Zazen in the morning and be a politician in the afternoon, or whatever. But I think that to practice balance is valuable for everything and everybody and every being. So Zazen is one way to practice balance. There are many ways, but Zazen is a very simple and very powerful way to practice balance.
But if you see some authentic masters or teachers,
Pardon?
if you look on some authentic
Yeah.
teachers, they are not so much involved in usual society
No.
things
No.
as you also.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dogen
Then
left. Yeah.
different way, little bit maybe.
Yeah.
Also be too much involved in.
But we can choose.
Yeah, we can choose.
So there are also authentic. Dogen writes in the Shobo Genzo about Chinese students of famous masters who were politicians and who did both. But some people do one, some people do the other, some people do both, some people do neither. It's real people living real lives. That's all there is, really.
But should we aim for more like a communal good instead of an individual one? One is the same as everything and everything is the same as one.
What's communal good?
For example, I was just thinking about a koan also that talked about a butcher and how butchers in China were regarded as something very low because Buddha said do no harm and they were killing animals, but
Yeah.
people were eating animals. So, and shall we, for example, coming back to this, I guess, values, because people that want to do politics because of values, they also aim for something that is communal good, like let's say,
Yeah.
we want the best for, I don't know, the people in Slovakia or
Yeah.
vegetarians, that we don't want to harm animals, or we don't want to cause harm with our actions.
Right.
Is there,
It's impossible not to cause harm with their action.
but we can cause less harm, no? Or
No, I don't know. Of course, yes. Yeah, we can.
There should be a purpose. Should this be something?
If you want to, you can do that.
But it's individual. Then you would say it's personal choice. To
What?
aim for not to hurt, or to help, or not to help, or to look for the common good, or.
Well, there's. We generalize. I'm doing it now. I say we. You say people want to. It doesn't exist. There is no we. There is no people. There's only the situation here. So there's only what you want to do, actually, and what I want to do, actually. That's all there is. So you decide what you want to do, that's all there is. You can't decide what I want to do. And even you discuss for many hours what we should do or what people should do. It's just a kind of mental exercise. You can only decide what you want to do, and then you can do it or not do it. You can
influence the other people.
So you can decide to influence other people. Yes.
And then you can change their minds and change their actions.
Yes, it's incredible. It's kind of mystery. But not you. You can, or I can. But there's no you. There's no you.
And does Zen speak about some moral code, some like
Yes.
things that are because you take precepts, and there are some like
Let's say precepts.
yes,
Precepts.
No, precepts, to sú oni. No?
What you shouldn't do when you are like
Yeah,
taking
yes,
the
these
vow
are
of
precepts.
bodhisattva. So there is some concept of morality. Yeah? Zen.
Predpisy, v
No.
podstate ste nemali príkladom. Yeah, just translate it from.
Yeah.
So there is some like frame of, let's say.
Yeah, well,
good
what
behavior.
Dogen says,
Mhm.
which is all I know,
Mhm.
is right does not exist somewhere waiting for us to do it. So there's no such thing as abstract right. Right exists in what we do, in the action itself. So if we are balanced, then our action is right.
Mhm.
That's very, very difficult to accept, because the whole of society has abstract moral code. And we try to follow that moral code, which is abstract.
But it is based on human intuition, isn't it? Basically,
Yes,
that you feel what's right, and there is some general agreement that people feel on the whole the same way, that you shouldn't kill someone
Yeah.
or hurt someone.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
that's
but
a
we're,
written sort of
we're only
some-
talking.
Yeah.
Your actual action is right or wrong. It's only my action which is right or wrong. We can talk about, yes, there's an abstract code, there's the precepts, there's laws, and they're the result of human intuition and human experience. But that's abstract, isn't it? We're talking about something. But only thing that actually is right or wrong is my behaviour.
I know, but right or wrong
Now-
is against some pattern or example or something.
Not according to Dogen's teaching. That's why I say it's
But I'm
very...
sure the Dogen wouldn't say killing is okay.
No.
But if
So
I,
there is something that where the boundaries are set.
but if I go to
Yes.
the shop and I buy a chicken, I'm balanced, I feel okay with buying a chicken and doing the lunch. And when Cynthia goes to a shop and she's balanced and she feels like buying meat is bad for her.
Can you see the difference between what we're talking about and the actual situation? You're not in a shop buying a chicken.
No,
She's not in a shop buying a chicken.
right?
So we're just talking story.
Yeah.
And morals are a story. Laws are a story. But we follow that story. But actually, what is right is what we do. What is wrong is what we do. There's nothing else. I'm here, you're here. There's no tomorrow, yesterday, another place, another example, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. There's only you and me here doing. And
no.
that's
of course,
all.
Yes, but you take an action in the presence, and then you naturally judge whether you were right or wrong often.
Yes. And we never know. Was that right? Or was
We
that...
don't want to talk about abstract because these are real situations that happen.
Not real. It's not real. You use the word real. It's not real. Only thing real is me sitting here in this chair and you sitting there.
Right, but if I ask you now, like as a teacher, can you give me advice? I want to cause no harm. Is this
Well,
okay?
don't hurt Robert then, and try not to hurt.
Yeah, but the guidance.
Then
I want guidance.
you aren't doing any harm. That's the truth. You are not doing any harm. Is that not enough for you?
I guess yes, but I guess
Yes.
the point is that
So don't do harm tomorrow, but tomorrow is not here yet.
but
So when tomorrow comes, don't do harm. This afternoon, don't do harm. Now, try not to hurt anybody close to you. That's it. This is why Buddhist teaching is so strange and weird. because it somehow seems to be completely disconnected from our normal life. But actually, it's the reality of our normal life, which we never see because of our fantastic brains and ability to think and plan and decide. I don't want to harm people. I'm going to become a vegetarian so that I don't eat animals. Well, Dogen would say, don't eat an animal now. Tomorrow you can decide whether to eat an animal or not. But now is the only time not to eat an animal. Unfortunately, we're not eating animals.
But it's an individual decision, that's what I wanted to get. It's individual decision, every time it's my decision.
Well, can you tell me a non-individual decision?
Well, the ones that are taken for me, for example, government. I should
What did they decide for you?
do that. I'm Mexican, I cannot travel the world and work in other countries because I'm Mexican.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't choose this, it's my karma, I guess. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, but you're not travelling, are you?
I am, well, not right now.
No, not right now.
Yeah, you're right.
So, no.
I understand.
No, it's not your problem. I sometimes think, oh, shut up, Michael. It's impossible to explain something which is so simple, which is reality is here, now. Everything else is our story. It's a very important story which we can't escape, but it's not here and now. Travelling to another country is not happening. Chickens are not being killed.
Yes, but the thinking which is happening now may influence the action which are in future.
Yes, it's true. So if we think about the rules of society and our normal life, then we have to live. But Buddhism, or Dogen, doesn't have anything to say about that because we know already. We have laws, we have rules, we have politicians, we have ordinary people, we have butchers, we have vegetarians. That's our life. We know how to live, we're living every day. What Dogen says is something very much simpler and more raw, more immediate. And we can't catch it. It's just now, we can't catch it because we're spreading it out. We spread this moment out. Do you understand? No. Nor do I.
I think I understand, but I think that...
So it's not denying half of life.
Because I remember a long time ago you speak that there are two realities. One is
Yes.
the absolute reality, which is just now, and
Yes.
what is happening, and then is the social reality.
Yes.
And
That's right. Well, I'm trying to talk about the absolute reality while we're sitting in social reality. It's impossible. It's impossible.
So my opinion is that it's good to be in balance. Just to overthink, to overdo, then we will go in loop and we will be disconnected from the absolute reality. But to just completely...
No, we can never be disconnected from absolute reality. Because we're in it. But we don't realise it. We don't realise while we're talking now that we're living now.
Yes,
we're not living now, we're living here.
If we overdo the thinking, then we some way can be completely disconnected some way. But I think if we just do the right amount, then the planning and intellectual thinking, for example, about what is good for the animals and what is not good, that this has sense.
Yes, of course it has sense. Yes.
Otherwise we wouldn't talk at all.
Yes.
So we need to talk because we
Well,
help each other to clear our thoughts.
That's
and
right.
Inspire each other. So otherwise we shouldn't sit here. We should just do things and not communicate about anything, or just organizational, whatever. But we need to discuss values, feelings, and so on. So that's the reason I also have a talk or whatever discussions.
But this is different. Your reality is talking. Is not the reality. The reality you do.
Yes, but
if you are going in the shop and shopping,
I know,
buying
but
chicken or not.
Of course,
This is
because
not
I
true
have
now. It's only.
I understand you. I understand you that you're always in the presence, but you're influenced by, I don't know, discussions we had 1 year ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It all influences your action at that very moment. And if we didn't exchange our thoughts and our feelings,
Still
then we
buy chicken.
We are doing everything. We're doing everything you're talking about now. We're doing it now, aren't we?
We have a gift of We have a gift of speaking.
And we're speaking.
And listening.
And we're listening.
Therefore, it makes some sense to exchange.
And it makes sense, and we're exchanging. So we're doing it all. It's wonderful.
Of course, as Robert says, we shouldn't overdo it. We shouldn't just live in the concepts and make our thoughts just grow and grow like cancer, but to have some fruitful discussion that leads us to understand something better makes sense.
Yes, it does, yeah. And that's what we're doing now. So what's missing for you?
There was just too much emotion about questions that were asked.
Too much emotion?
Yeah. So I think it was a shame.
What, like my emotion?
Mm-hmm.
Because I said we're here now.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a good intention that Cynthia had.
Of course she has a good intention. Oh, I see. So you feel that I was criticising her?
Not really.
No. Oh, you didn't like my behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to change my behaviour now. So
Be a better Buddhist.
now
She's influencing now in the discussion. She's trying to change you.
I'm very sorry, and I tried to be very gentle, but
It's her senses.
yeah, I understand. I don't know how to. We're trapped in our minds. I am. We are. All are. But sometimes we can cut through. And in China, there were Buddhist teachers who tried to teach this by hitting the table or shouting or throwing things. But it wasn't emotion. They weren't angry. They're trying to say, see it, it's here. And then we say, oh yes, I know it's here, but it's here now. Yes, I know it's here now, but we do it all the time. So to break that, I was very, very rude to Cynthia.
That's fine. I guess we were having that conversation in two different levels. You as a teacher saying it's now.
Yes, we're having different levels.
Yes. We wanted to have philosophical discussion, which is different.
Yes. So my job is to be at a different level. So you can't understand what I'm talking about, and you think I'm talking rubbish. Yeah, that's my job. and I don't like it.
But you're doing it perfectly.
Pardon?
But you're doing it very well.
Being like what? Me? No.
I think the questions are coming from the stories, from these social.
Yes, yes, they are.
And the only thing you are doing, you are trying to find an angle under which the person is asking can cut through.
I don't know. It just comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, but this is how I see it. So also these Chinese guys were.
Yes.
Because they
Yes.
they saw it
Yes.
as the most appropriate way.
Yes.
How to cut through the student.
Yes.
Through his stories.
Yes. But it's not denying our life in society.
Of course.
But we don't need something called religion or Buddhism or something to tell us about our life in society. We learn about it from children. We're educated and we're trained and we become expert in this or that. So we know it all. And if we have problems in society, we have the legal system. If we have emotional problems, we have therapists, we have doctors for physical problems. It's all there. But we don't have something which says, stop! It's now. And that's what society needs. Not to get rid of everything, but something that says, stop! Stop, Patya! Your life is passing you by and you're working too much. Stop, stop and see. That's what's missing for us. And sometimes we feel it, but we don't catch it. That's all. Stop and catch the moment. Our lives are passing while our lives are passing while we're thinking about how to live. How shall I live? You're living! Yes, but how shall I live? You're living now. Yes, but how should I? Well, do it now. It's the only time you can do it. I don't know, I can do it tomorrow. I should think about it and then tomorrow. No, you won't. So it's very difficult.
Would you say it's pointless to study philosophy, for example?
It's not pointless, no. Because we have a brain. Yes. But what Buddhism calls the truth is not inside philosophy, it's outside philosophy. That's the problem. What Buddhism calls the truth is not in Buddhism, it's outside Buddhism. It's even outside Dogen's writings. It's here. It's nowhere else, it's here. That's the most I can do. Go into the toilet, open the window, and the trees will tell you. It's here, it's here. And because our lives are so filled with complication, with all the things which human beings built into a fantastic civilization, phones, legal systems, menus, food of many different kinds. Because that is such a powerful system in which we live, we forget something very, very simple. It's too simple. So that's the message. There's no other message.
This forgetfulness. When we practice Zazen,
Yes.
the situation is set up such that it's a little bit easier not to be so forgetful.
Yes.
When I don't practice, well, between the Zazens, for instance,
Yes.
you say, okay, if I carry on regularly and for a longer period,
Yes.
if I understand correctly, the idea is it's going to be easier not to be so often forgetful, or it'll be easier not to be forgetful between the sittings. Do I?
Yeah, there's a description that when we practice something like Zazen, something which makes us balance, it stays with us in the next moment and the next moment. Like if you hit the bell, dong, it stays, but slowly it gets weaker. So that story seems to help. So if we practice balance every day or regularly, then we can keep the dong.
So one has to go at it this sort of indirectly, otherwise, because it's always, I have forgotten now.
Yeah, well in Zazen too.
So, yeah, absolutely. But
I'm here. Oh, I've forgotten.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm here. Oh,
Exactly.
I've forgotten. Oh, I'm here. Hundreds and hundreds of times. So, and in life too.
Yeah, so what I mean, so remembering, that I have just forgotten and remembering myself and again and again.
Yes.
I need to practice regularly so that this is happening more frequently. That's the message.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of a question.
Okay, well, we can practice in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But not
Well, and the question really, so this is, I get this point, it's simple enough.
Yeah.
Do you have any other, is there anything else Dogen says on this, how to be less forgetful? Or is it sit often and long enough?
Well, he lived in a temple, so they're practicing all day. I don't think I could do that.
Okay, and you say about sport or something like that,
Yes.
or music maybe.
Well, our activity is, from this other point of view, is very simple. We're acting, but when we pick up the cup to drink the tea, often we're thinking something else. So I'm not drinking the tea with my body and mind. I'm drinking the tea but thinking, it mustn't be long, I've got to be at work soon. So this is, we split ourselves into two.
Yes.
The thinking person, which is not here, and the drinking person, which is here. So we put ourselves together.
So sometimes when I work, for instance, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm completely engaged at that work.
Yeah.
But also I forget.
To go to the
I
toilet.
I'm not,
Yeah.
not as bad sometimes.
Oh, I do.
But you see, if I understand correctly, I can be aware of my drinking the tea and being aware of myself drinking the tea.
Well,
Or
yes,
just
sounds a bit too perfect, doesn't it, really? It's like, I'm a Buddhist, I'm aware I'm drinking my tea. No, I'm aware I'm standing up. I'm aware I'm walking. So, I don't know. My teacher said, just practice Zazen regularly then don't worry about anything. And he was right. So practicing balance will look after everything else. Sounds too good, must be a trick. But it's true. So practice balance and live freely. Do what you want. And do what you want doesn't mean that you can go and kill people. It means you, as balanced person, do what you want. You're balanced, don't worry. Do it. And when you've done it, then it's finished. So do the next thing. Don't worry, oh, was it right? Was it wrong? Should I? Shouldn't I? Do it. Then after that's done, do the next thing. Just do it. So this is the...
This makes sense. What I had on mind is something maybe slightly different. I could imagine that in my former job, I would completely focus on it while I'm doing it, and then I would die. I would be so much...
exhausted.
I wouldn't even, if I put it into extreme, know about myself doing it, living a life, just so much submerged in it.
Yeah, but you're submerged in an intellectual activity.
Yes.
So, really, of course, we all are. I am. My job is editing scientific papers. I'm lost in these theories and mathematics. Oh, horrible. But that's my job. But what we need is whole, something whole. Not lost in our mind, not lost in the computer or lost in the music, but whole. So immersed in what we're doing in the present. And we know we need it. Everybody knows they need it. So we do yoga, we do cycling, we do swimming, we do things that make us whole. Because we know somewhere deep that we need to become whole. And then we go again, and then we become whole. So this is our life, like this. That's the best I can do, really. Yeah. Maybe I was a bit emotional, but sorry. I get carried away. I don't know. I could cry. How can I say? Go and ask the leaves in the forest. They all say, it's all here, it's all here. Oh yes, but what about this afternoon? No, it's all here. What about tomorrow? Yes, well, I'll leave tomorrow. I wish I was normal. Can we stop now? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very lucky that I can't understand most of what people say. And I want to explain why. Maybe I was lucky in Japan too. I've been studying what people call Zen. I think I would like to call it the teachings. Not Zen or Buddhism, but the teachings. I've been studying the teachings now for 41 years. And there's one very basic, quite important thing. I always say before a retreat, let yourselves settle. And I want to demonstrate what I mean. Because it's so simple that it's very, very difficult. Maybe it takes 20 or 30 years of practice to understand. This is settled. This is me. In my normal life, I stir myself. This is me in my normal life. When I stop stirring, slowly I settle. The water becomes clear. There's a very famous poem written by an ancient Chinese master called Master Wanshi about water being clear. But we find it very difficult to keep our hand over here. Now let it settle. I'm going to let it settle. I'm going to let it settle. We're always stirring. We can't stop stirring. And we encourage each other to stir. So part of it is language. Talking. Interesting. Important. Whoa. But if you don't understand anything, it's rather nice, isn't it, Cynthia?
Very.
Because you don't need to stir so much. And if you don't stir, you settle. That's what I say to people before retreats. Let yourself settle. Because we don't have an opportunity to do that. But we can't stop stirring. So it takes many years to stop stirring. We think that it's important to stir. We think that our life is stirring. So if we don't stir, we feel maybe something will fly away. We will lose something. If we don't tell our stories, repeat our stories to each other, listen to each other's stories, listen to a story, tell a story. If we don't keep those stories going, we feel, who am I? What is this? And our ego doesn't like it at all. In fact, our ego gets very, very addicted to stirring. And if we stop stirring, after a while, it wants to stir again. Just a little. Just a little. So it's very, very difficult. Maybe if you're very concentrated, maybe 10 years to stop stirring. If you're a normal person, maybe 20, 30 years to stop stirring. Or maybe you never stop stirring. Anyway, that's the first thing. So, of course, our life is always stirring. My life is always stirring. But when we stop, we become Buddha. That's what it means to become Buddha. To have clarity and to realize that we are clear water. And that the things which we're worried about and the things which concern us are just floating on the surface here. And so we can see them more clearly. But of course, some people don't want to see those things. So they want to distract themselves all the time. If we distract ourselves all the time, we don't need to look at how we are. So it's very common. So it's not so attractive, really, to tell people to stop stirring. And many people probably don't like the teaching, but that's a very important part. So it's nice to try. And the second important thing which I learned is we can make effort for the sake of making effort. Usually we make an effort for some purpose or some goal or some aim. But it's possible to make effort just for the sake of making effort. And it sounds rather strange. I remember in Samu, in the temple in Japan with my teacher, we used to sweep the leaves from the steps in Samu on the first day, and on the second day we would sweep the leaves from the steps, and on the third day we would sweep the leaves from the steps again, which is stupid. But after some years it taught me that it's okay to sweep the leaves from the steps. Just to sweep the leaves from the steps. Not to make the steps clean, but just to sweep the leaves from the steps. And for me, it was very helpful that this way of being is quite deep in Japanese society from Buddhism. They don't know it. If you ask a Japanese person, they can't explain it to you, but they can do things for the sake of doing it. But in Western society, we are very goal conscious. So, for instance, I've swept all the leaves all the way around here. It's finished. It's finished, so it doesn't need anything else. It's done. I got my goal. So a different attitude is, I've swept the leaves from the steps, I'll go around and sweep them again. Stupid. But there's a very, very valuable point in that. And actually, it's the reason why Japanese industry was so successful in the 1970s. People thought Japan would conquer the business world. They have some secret. Well, they did have a secret. They've still got it. Just do it. Do it for the sake of doing it. Oh, my car doesn't need checking because I had it checked last month and it looks okay. But in Japan, I should check my car now, so I'll check my car. Another benefit of this attitude, stupid attitude, is it makes all activities equally valuable. So sweeping the steps is stupid, and doing this on the computer is also just as stupid. So when everything is stupid, everything is equal. And I think I've said in the talk before, something I noticed in Japanese society, there is no strong tendency to have a hierarchy in a company. Of course there's a hierarchy. But for instance, I used to go to the toilet, and in the toilet is an older person cleaning the toilet. And I noticed when people went into the toilet, they would say, "Oh, thank you very much," to the person cleaning the toilet. And I realised that's quite different. In England, I don't know about Slovakia or Czechia, but in England, the person cleaning the toilet is down there, and I'm important, I'm up here. But in Japan, I felt some kind of equality. Not completely, of course, but they realized the value of that person's simple action. And it's behind Japanese cooking, for example. If you eat delicious ramen or sushi, and you study the man or woman who's making it, their life is very, very simple. We saw a film, a Japanese film about ramen a few weeks ago, and the film was it was a little romantic, but it was about this man who wanted to make the most beautiful taste for ramen. What? His whole life was to make... The taste has got to be just right. No. So he goes to another country and he studies. So this is very stupid attitude. But it's the same attitude behind many great people. Because practice is very simple. Whether you're practicing the violin or carving a figure, the action is repetitive and simple. But we find it very difficult to notice the value of doing things for the sake of doing it. But the benefit is, when we do something for the sake of doing it, we can put ourselves completely into it. I make the tea. I just make the tea. We don't need to think about whether it's good tea or bad tea, or people want it or don't want it. Just make the tea. And because it's a very stupid attitude, and because it's a very basic teaching, my teacher took his priest name as Gudo. And Gudo means stupid in Japanese. So his name was Stupid. He wasn't a stupid man, but he realized the value of simplicity. Of course, our lives are very complicated. So I don't mean we should get rid of all the complication, but in the center of that complication, we can be stupid, simple. People don't ask stupid questions. Only children ask stupid questions. And children's questions are the most important because they're exactly right there. Why did the stars go round, Mummy? Who am I? There's a story that Newton, the famous mathematician and scientist, when he was a child, saw a spoon and he saw his face in the spoon. And then he found his face was upside down. My face is upside down. Why is my face upside down, Daddy? And then he went like this and he found that it's the right way up. Wow. It's upside down. It's not upside down. And the story goes that that very simple realization started him to investigate the field of optics. Wow. They say that Einstein, when he was small, tried to imagine what it was like if you're travelling on a train which is going faster than light. And that simple question stayed with him for the whole of his life. So behind very great people, we can find often simplicity. And simplicity, we can say, is doing something for the sake of doing it. Of course, we still need the carrot in front of the horse. But in the moment, we're not looking at the carrot. We're doing what we're doing. And I often use the metaphor of a tennis player. I don't know why, because I don't play tennis. But if you see a tennis player in a match, waiting to receive the ball, and they jump around like this, what do you think they're doing, jumping around like this? I think they want to get themselves in the moment. Very stupid, isn't it? Stupid thing to do. They're not thinking, oh, the ball is coming here. They're just going like this. So I think that's a very nice kind of stupid action at the centre of sport. So there we are. Two things. We love to stir. If we stir all the time, we never see the water. So it's nice to stop stirring sometimes. Even just 5 minutes each day. And the second thing is, it's okay to do things for the sake of doing them. It's okay to be like that. we won't lose our life. We won't lose our position. We won't lose our power or influence. But every time we concentrate on the moment, our ego gets very, very scared. It gets scared if we stop stirring. It gets scared if we give up our aim, because the ego wants us to re-establish ourself, my story, who I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm going to get. So every time we stop that, the ego is there. Come on, just a little. So that's what my situation is. Maybe your situation may be similar. If I'm stupid, if I give up my aim and do what I'm doing, if I forget my story, what's going to happen? Scary. I felt like this quite a lot recently, because I got rid of most of my things and set off across Europe to come here. And I feel I'm in the middle of a big ocean. I don't have a story. So it's scary. But it's okay to be scared. We don't need to avoid being scared. Our ego maybe doesn't like it if we're scared. It wants us to be secure and comfortable and stable and clear. Okay, it's me, it's Mike, you're okay, you're going here, it's going to be all right. You know, it was okay before, it's going to be okay now. So my story is comforting me. Oh, I'm okay, I'm okay. But when my story disappears, who am I? What is my life? Where am I going? What am I doing? What have I done? My life is a waste of time. I haven't done anything. I'm nobody. So we often get frightened when we give up, even short time, our stories, so that we can do something for the sake of doing it, or stop stirring our me. This is not me. This is something which is called Buddha nature. In Chinese Buddhism, they call this not the person, but who. So you can read in Chinese stories that we don't really know who we are, or we are who. We are just the clear water. Ah, now it's Michael. I can see Michael clearly. I'm okay now. There's Michael. Ooh. Come on, Michael. There you are. You're all right. Oh, what's happening to Michael? Oh. Whew, that's better. But it's very tiring, actually, stirring. So a retreat can be like that. But it's quite difficult. Nice.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So, I do understand the value of settling down to some way see where I am. So just to connect with maybe with me. But what I don't understand or don't see the value of something like full stop. I don't want to be all the time like this, because I could lay at the beach and just.
You can't be all the time like that.
I don't want even.
I don't want.
Yes, but
I don't want either.
Mm-hmm.
It's I that doesn't want.
Yes.
Because if I am like that, where am I? I can't see me. Scary. So I don't want it. I agree. I don't want it either.
But this just depends what you call I.
Yeah. True. Well, who am I? Or I am who?
So you think the ideal is the full stop, so just a
No.
complete settling down? Or
No. Because I am always here. So I am important. But there is somebody else besides I or me. And that somebody else in the teaching is called Buddha nature, or you can say universal consciousness, or wholeness, or completeness, or harmony with the universe, or thousands of different words to describe the clear water where there is no I. But I can't live like that. I can't live like that.
No, what I wanted to say that I don't even want. So.
No, that's right. I don't want either. It's true.
see the distinguish?
Pardon?
If you see sometimes his eye in the same moment, and in the same moment the clearness,
No.
No, it's not possible to...
Well, not for me,
Okay.
but the clearness I discovered in climbing many years ago. I didn't know what it was. Dogen calls it forgetting yourself. You can say getting rid of the I, or no self. And I discovered it in climbing, and then I discovered it in Zazen. And then we can't talk about. Then I discovered that this is valuable. This is something important. Who am I? I'm who? Where am I going? I'm going here. What am I doing? I'm doing this.
Now maybe Boris meant if it's possible to see the clear water while stirring.
No. No. But we can understand there's stirring and there's clear water. We can understand the picture. We can understand in here. But when the water's clear, we don't know who we are, or we are who, or we are ineffable. And this state where I am not important, there is somebody, this state is the center of still action. Or action has a still center. So the still center of action has no person. There's just whole action. In words we can say, I am one with what I'm doing. Sounds very bit romantic, doesn't it, in words? But it's true. Dogen says, study in your experience. Study these things in your experience. And I have been doing it for 40 years, and it's true. In the center of action is stillness. In that stillness, there is clear water. In that clear water, I don't exist. Well, I do exist, but I'm not there. Or
I think it's a very beautiful metaphor, this stirring with the idea of stopping, steering the wheel of samsara. No? Once you stop.
yeah,
I mean, I really thought it was very beautiful, by the way. Very simple
nice
way
tea
of
too.
saying. It was very nice. But once, for example, if Buddha was able to stop steering the wheel of samsara and see the clearness of Buddha nature, is it something that stays with you? It comes and goes? It's something you experience once and then...
Look at yourself and answer your question. Does it come and go? Does it stay with you? Or maybe you should say, is it here now? Some people say it's some kind of enlightened state when the self disappears. But and once you get that situation, it continues forever. But I think that's rubbish. Complete rubbish. Oh, but I met a person the other day who said he's enlightened. Yeah. He said so. How about you? Are you? So Dogen says, look at your own experience. Don't look at some God which you created. Oh, she's, he's the Dalai Lama. He's enlightened. No, he's not. You can see he's a human, completely human being. Just like me and you. So there's stillness and there's stirring.
In sports or even in coding, like in programming, we called it, this state, we called it be in the flow.
That's right, in the zone, in the flow.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you can feel it also sometimes in meditation.
Yes. Even when you can't see it in meditation, it's there. So if you practice for many years, you somehow, I can't say I notice it, it's not me who notices it, but there is some awareness of somebody who is nameless, somebody who is not but real. And that's very, very valuable for all human beings. And everybody has it. The thing about the teachings is that the teachings try to put this into words. Try. So that's why the teachings are important for the modern world, really. To try to put into words the value of something very, very simple, basic. Like a jewel hidden.
Underneath of the dragon.
Yes. So we all have that. Everybody. Buddhist or not Buddhist.
But Dalai Lama, for example, in my feeling, make something special from this.
I've never met him, but he seems to be very.
I don't know, in books maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah.
Many other people
he has a very difficult life because everybody puts their dream onto him.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very, very difficult life. So he's a great person to carry that. But if we return to the normal world, samsara, what you say is right, Robert. I don't know whether I want to be like that. I like being like this. It's important for me. And it's true.
I think the balance is important, to be in the balance. Because just to come to complete full stop, so I can be dead. It would be like that.
That's quite interesting. That's what you feel, isn't it? If you'd be like that, I will be dead. That's a very, very, very powerful statement. That's how it feels. If I'd be like that, I would be dead. I would be dead. That's what the ego feels.
But why do you call it full stop? What do you mean by full stop?
Yes, it's just a clear water. I don't want to be like the clear water. I want to be in balance, so not to be completely disconnected from the reality, but just to be complete all the time. No.
Completely connected with reality. That's your water, so because there is no I, it's everything.
I don't think this is even possible, and yes, it's definitely what I don't, not what I want.
Okay, fine. Everybody chooses the way they live, and that's our freedom. We're free to choose how to live, what's important to us. But you come and sit in clear water.
I think this is even very controversial if we have any freedom at all. But this is
Yes.
completely different topic.
Yeah. Well, you're not free. I'm free, but you're not free.
Yes, I don't know. I try to pretend that I'm free, but I don't really know.
I'm not free either, really.
I don't know really, but
No,
maybe there is some freedom.
maybe not. I don't know how to answer. If we're part of the universe, how can we be free?
Mm. But this simplicity, I think this is very
Is that
very
okay?
good. It's even in the software development there are two great rules, and one of them is called KISS, and this
Keep it
means
simple.
keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think this is
Perfect.
one of the most important rules, and so I think it's
In
really great.
many things it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
For instance, in speaking,
Mhm.
people think they should, if they have to give a talk, they should be sophisticated.
Mm.
But to be simple is more powerful.
Look at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's a successful man. Many
Most
people are
powerful.
jealous of
Yeah.
from his millions and successfulness.
Are they?
I don't know.
Deep? Maybe you know, but
We don't know people.
many people are looking how such a stupid man can be a president. And he is a president.
Well, he's not alone, is he?
What?
He's not alone. He has all these people,
Yes.
the population. Popular. Well, anyway, I'm only repeating what I learned. Wanshi Shokaku, who lived in, I think, 9th century China, wrote this poem. The water is clear right down to the bottom, and fishes are swimming like fishes. The sky is clear right up to the clouds, and birds are flying like birds. He wrote it in Chinese, so it's very beautifully written. So I'm only repeating what he says, really. I didn't make it up. Well, I made up some of it.
I think that steering is also very important because right now we are steering ourselves during these talks. And the combination with zazen and that steering, it makes beautiful sense for me. This kind of
contrast.
This kind of combination, yeah.
Yes. That's why I like to have zazen after the talk.
Yeah.
Zazen before the talk, in the talk,
Yeah.
then zazen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you keep doing it, you I see. We're stirring ourselves up with ideas,
Then calm.
and then we're stopping. Yeah.
Without the contrast, we can't see. You know, without the
Yeah.
contrast,
Yeah.
if there's only light, then
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not natural somehow.
Without darkness, there's no light.
Yeah.
Without heat, there's no cold. Yeah.
Sometimes the contrast is very painful.
Yeah. But, you know, it is quite puzzling, really. How to be in the world is quite a puzzle, really. It's quite nice tea, though. So, if anybody has another subject or anything, or
Should stop slowly. We should stop.
oh right, wow, what happened to the time?
Yeah.
Oh, you can stop now. Okay, thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Sardines.
Wherever you like. I don't have a subject. I don't have an object.
Why, yeah.
So, what should we talk about? Are you you writing that down?
Silence. Very
I just wrote that it's a second part, second talk.
What, second part. Okay, we continue from this morning. I forgot what we said this morning.
Steering.
Steering.
Cup of tea.
Stirring. Ah, stirring. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Stirring.
And you finished saying that talk should be in between the zazen's, like ham in the sandwich. You didn't say that. Zazen talk. Zazen.
Oh yes.
This was the last thing.
Yeah. My mind is blank.
History maybe.
Pardon?
History, Zen history.
Story?
Just story, history.
History?
History.
The story would be also good.
History.
Cause and effect, cause of making effort for the sake of efforts, and how it is connected with cause and effect as the law
It's not connected.
at all. So you can speak about cause and effect.
Okay. No, I don't want to.
Maybe I will ask a lot of people these days is like phrase already to talk about karma.
Yeah.
So do you have any experience or do you have any opinion on this? How deep is it? Is there some layer of reality that have archive everything we do and then give it back to us?
Yeah. It's called our body.
Uh,
For instance, if you sleep in your hammock
yeah.
in the cold,
Yeah.
you feel quite tired.
Yeah.
So that's your body giving you back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of karma.
Yeah, but it's also many people, or it can be understood as if I do something good to you, in the future the good will come to me. Or if I harm somebody, in the future, somebody.
Well, if you're nice to somebody, they like you.
Yeah.
If you shout at them, they don't like you.
That's all. Yeah. Okay. Explain.
That's it really. So karma means cause and effect.
So you have to talk about it, man.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You have to talk about it because look, it happened.
If I don't, there'll be an effect.
Yes, he will not like you.
People won't like me. Yeah. No, cause and effect is absolute. So we can never escape the effect of what we do, whether it's good or bad, or both good and bad. And this is the basis of science. So science is about karma, about what kind of cause produces what kind of effect, and then making some law. So if you do this, then this happens. So I don't know any other karma besides that one. The kind of teaching of karma as some kind of, some store of your actions in a future life, I think is complete rubbish for me. But I don't mind if other people believe it. I suppose you could say, yeah, if you lead a very, very bad life, and then when you're 30 years old, you have children, and maybe your children get the result of your bad life. So you can say something passes on, but that's as far as I can understand, really. And I translated the writings of Nagarjuna, who was a teacher in the 2nd century, and he says very clearly that we don't live again. Many people, Buddhists say that we have reincarnation, but the Nagarjuna says we don't live again, and Dogen says we don't live again. So that's good enough for me.
Dogen says it like this? Dogen said this?
Yes. Yeah. The teaching says that body and mind are two sides of one thing. So there's only one thing. And one side we call body, and the other side we call mind. So without a body, there is no mind. Without a functioning brain, the body is not living. So the idea that your body dies, but your spirit carries on, Dogen says, is heresy. He says it's rubbish, lies. So I don't actually know, because I haven't died.
What about decision making? How you approach to make big decisions in your life?
Me? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I don't decide with my mind. I don't know where the decision comes from, but it's made. And then slowly I find it. So that doesn't seem very practical, but it is actually. So if you have a situation that you need to make a decision, then you find out about that situation as much as you can, and all that you find out is somewhere going around. And then at some point, for me, something decides, something solidifies. And then I recognize it. So I say, okay, I've decided. So that's the way I decide, but I don't have to make business decisions or, that kind of decision. Whether that will work in business, but I think it does, actually.
It wasn't about business, because business decisions are quite easy. I think about life decisions or, I don't know.
Oh yeah, life decisions. It seems to be better to make the big decisions easily and to take care with the small ones.
How do you make them easily?
Pardon?
How do you make them easily?
Don't worry about them. So if it seems like a huge decision, don't worry about it as much as whether you're going to have coffee or tea. But I don't know. I don't. The reason I'm like this, is after many years. And Dogen writes a lot about prajna. And for me, prajna means something that happens before we start thinking. Pra, from Sanskrit, prajna, before thought. So, before I start thinking about something, I'm processing something. Of course, my brain, but it's not logical thinking. It's some kind of process that's happening somewhere in my brain and also my body. They recently discovered we have neurons in our stomach, so maybe we decide with our stomach sometimes. So, it does seem that there is something that decides before our intellectual powers take over. And modern neuroscience has quite a lot of evidence to suggest this is true. So we decide somehow, or something is solidified, and then somehow we recognize it with our mind, and then we say, okay, I decided, and it comes out of our mouth. Okay, I'm going to do it. But for me, when I learnt about prajna, I noticed that often I don't decide by thinking. And when I noticed it, I thought, oh, that's quite nice, really. So it fits in with how I understand the teachings. We could say, you know, I've got to make a decision, so I thought about it, and then I reflected, and then I went for a walk, and you know, I let it settle for a few days, and then I decided. But if we look very closely at that, maybe it's not so different to what I'm saying. So I look for, if I have a big decision, I look for when I can recognize it.
Isn't it often some kind of accident or by chance? Because the way I met you was because I was kind of bored and I was looking through some Buddhist forums. And there was a thread about Brad Warner. So I didn't decide to read Brad Warner's books. But everybody said he has a great book called Hardcore Zen. So I got that book, I read it. And then I came across a poster in Prague that there is a retreat with Michael Luetchford. So again, I didn't decide, you know, to be your student, but somehow through lots of accidents, I met you, and then, you know...
But that's karma, no? That's cause and effect. You saw something, you went to...
So there's these accidents or chances, opportunities are part of... that we don't always just decide things, but somehow, some things happen.
Oh yes. There's an external world.
Yeah.
That's changing all the time. Yeah. But for me, for instance, coming to live in Czechia, we could say, is a big decision. So I kept kind of looking at myself. Do I want to go? No. Do I want to go? Yes. But the most important thing was, am I going? Is this? Am I going in this direction? And I found I was. It sounds strange to say, but I realised, I'm going. Almost like walking in the snow, and then you keep looking back. I seem to be going this way, okay. Where am I going? Where am I going? I'm going here, okay. And then affirming where you're going. So that, for me, affirming is what people call decision. But for me, it's affirming where I'm going. And I don't know how I decide, really. There are many, many, many factors. But when I'm saying it, I feel it sounds a bit strange, really. But it's the best I can tell you. But, you know, whatever decision we make about anything, we have to just do the next thing that faces us. So it's impossible to make a perfect decision because we cannot guess the future. So we decide to do something, and then it turns out completely different, terrible. Or we decide to do something and it turns out much better than we hoped. And we never know. So there's a story that Dogen quotes in the Shobogenzo about a man standing on the top of a 100 feet pole. So there's a pole, like wood. And we're standing on the top of the pole. So we have to step forward. We don't know where we're going. So that's something about deciding in the moment is moving. And actually, if we think about we're going to make a big decision, actually our big decision is made by lots of small decisions. So, for instance, you know, am I going to live in Czechia? So it's a big decision. But actually, the decision was made when I started to do very small things. I sell my sofa. My car is stolen. I don't buy another one. So slowly, little decisions are leading me somewhere. So I try to affirm where I'm going. Do you understand affirm? So if we can affirm where we're going, we're also affirming where we are. Okay, I'm here. This is what's happening. Good or bad, doesn't matter. This is it. And stupidly, my teacher said, just practice zazen and you can carry on living. So I do. So I take a step off the 100-foot pole and I land somewhere. And then I say, okay, I'm here. Then I take another step and I'm somewhere else. I say, okay, I'm here. So in that way, it's step, moment, moment. Step, step, moment, moment. Okay, I'm here. Oh, okay, I'm here. Ah. If you've walked in the mountains, you know that you want to go over, there's some big mountains here and the weather is bad here, and you want to go to a valley down here. So you think, I think I can go that way. And you walk for 5 minutes and you look again, everything changed. It doesn't go that way, it goes that way. Okay, so I go here. It goes that way and it goes up. Then you walk some further. So every time you act, everything changes.
So there must be courage, to some extent, courage to make a step.
Courage, stupidity,
But on the other
whatever.
hand,
Step. So
not too enough.
off the pole. Step off the pole. Step off the pole.
Not to have too many doubts. If doubts are
Oh yeah.
absolute, you are not able to make any step because cannot decide.
No, so jump.
But on the other hand, there must be some harmony between courage and doubts.
Yeah. No, you can have courage and doubt at the same time.
Yeah.
You can be frightened and still be brave.
It seems to be a matter of extent of both sides. Because if we are
I suppose so. Well, I don't think like that.
I'm just trying to describe what came to my mind about this topic.
Yes. I never think, am I doubting or am I just feel, oh, so go. That's my character's a bit, I go.
Mm-hmm.
Then where am I? Stupid. So go again. Okay, not so bad.
Isn't it also, okay, I'm not gonna make a step, but practically that's a step as well.
Yeah.
So even if I don't
Yes.
move actually,
Yes.
it's another
Yes.
place or
Yes.
situation.
Yes. Yes.
So I might doubt. As a result of my doubt, I don't make a step, but I have made a step.
Yeah, you have made a step.
I'm rather hasty as a character,
Mm-hmm.
doing things.
Hesitant.
But sometimes, especially at the retreat, I start to have more doubts,
Oh,
reviewing my own weaknesses,
oh.
disabilities, blindness, and so on. But
You notice?
it must not go further and further, I guess.
It's very difficult to talk about, isn't it, really? Well, what we're actually talking about is what is called, in Dogen's teachings, action. Action at the moment of the present, because that's all there is. We move from this moment to the next moment. That's why I say small decisions are important, big decisions not so important. Because the big decision is only here, but the small decision is now. So a big decision is actually lots of small decisions. So if we concentrate on our conduct now, concentrate on the silly, stupid conduct now, that will make the big decision. It will make it. It will be made. But putting it into words, it sounds rather kind of impractical, stupid way to try to live. But in fact, it's the way we all live all the time. Every small step creates the future. So my teacher said, Dogen said, just practice balance. Then when you step off the pole, if you're on the pole and you're balanced, you can step very nicely. If you're not balanced, you try and step that way and you go that way. Whoa! So practice balance and step off the pole every minute. That's all. It sounds too simple, but that's all. That's all there is. Nagarjuna says it, Dogen says it, my teacher said it, it's good enough for me. So I live that way now. Sometimes. I try to live that way. Every step changes the world.
You couldn't be a politician because they make big images about the future we are going then.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know.
You are not
But every little step they're making determines whether their big image comes true or not. Yeah. No, I couldn't be. No, I couldn't be anybody important really.
Everything already.
Well, you do, yes. So, the only benefit you can get from my talk is recognizing what you know already.
maybe a stupid question, but if you are with your daughter and your family in Australia, for example, you are talking maybe this way also somehow.
No, she never asked me about it.
Maybe secretly or I don't know.
No. I have to just follow what she tells me to do. No, they're in the middle of family life with 2 little boys, and it's she never asked me. She knows I go on retreats. Oh, my dad.
Also, you are teacher.
Yeah, but she never asked me. And I never tell people if they don't ask me.
Yes.
Maybe we should sing or chant, be nice.
I can tell a story from my meditation.
Okay.
I tried to focus during my meditation, and I saw a big black dog in my meditation, and after a few minutes there was real big black dog in the and I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, it was fun. So and the dog in the imagination, the dog tried to kill us here. Great.
And here it comes.
Yeah. And he is somewhere in the woods, so be careful when you go to toilet outside.
Yeah, sometimes it's very strange. Yeah.
Next time, meditate about holiday in Hawaii or something.
There's a volcano eruption in Hawaii.
Not Hawaii.
Well,
Are you analyzing something which happened during meditation? After that?
No.
Or not?
no. No. Nothing interesting happens in my meditation. Just kind of peace and peace.
Is it something concrete or is it only
Well, you know,
precisely
little bits of stories. I think sometimes I get lost in a story about what I'm going to do or what I did or what I want or how I feel, and then I wake up, and this happens a lot. But most of the time it's like little pieces of the story. I don't no idea. I suppose it's just my neurons are firing, you know. So, just random kind of rubbish, really.
Like
But-
black dogs.
Yeah, like black dog, yeah. Or, you know, a car. Which car? You know, what am I thinking about a car for? Or then a person, and then nothing, and then all kind of broken up.
Would you agree with the statement that a thought is a memory? what I mean is that every thought you have, or we have, is somehow not a precise memory, but somehow connected with the memory.
Well, the word thought is past participle, isn't it? So it suggests that something already took place.
Okay.
So I can't catch you. Thinking is not a memory, but maybe a thought is.
I heard that people that are blind from the day they are born, they dream about things, but they not see anything. They just dream, I'm showering, but no images at all. So it has to be like something you cannot thought, something you haven't seen or heard, or.
It's a good. I give you a good tip. Only talk about your own experience.
Yeah.
I read something. Somebody told me. Yeah. I saw somebody who said something about there are people who can live without eating. You know, there's a man who can fly. He lives over in Poprad, and I heard he went to the top of a Tatras, and so it's interesting. It's nice for chatting, but it's better if you want to find out, talk about your own experience, which is all you have. Okay. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Shinryu Suzuki, who's a very famous Japanese Zen teacher who went to America in the 1960s and had many students there. In one of his books, the person who wrote the book, it wasn't him, wrote the book about the things that Shinryu Suzuki would say to his students. And one of the things he said to his students is, Zazen is like taking the lid off a boiling pot. So when you take the lid off, so it suggests that Zazen is kind of a way of releasing lots of stuff. I don't know if there's any medical research that suggests that sitting in meditation allows your neurons to kind of go fireworks, yeah. But sometimes my random images in Zazen are like fireworks, yeah.
Like, I don't know if it makes sense to you, but previous teacher I had in America used to say that it was the ego resisting. I don't know if it's whenever I was like, why do I sit in sesshin? And I seem to think more, he would say, because you know this. And then he would say, yeah, but it's also the ego that wants, like I want to move, or it hurts here. Whenever you are calming down, like the ego starts struggling. I don't know if this makes sense for you, or...
You mean the ego is doing...
I would say like your ego is struggling, like starts struggling because you want to kind of tame the crazy monkey. So every time you try to tame the crazy monkey, it will want to jump more, but then eventually it will...
calm down.
Yeah.
Well, it's a way to describe it. I think there must be many ways to describe what it's like. I mean, actually, there's no such thing as ego. But we use the word to describe something. So if you say you have ego, which is I want, I am, this kind of central thing, and you can use it to describe something. We only make models we create models using words, but actually there are no models. We create the models. So, seems to make sense to say ego and create. What's crazy monkey?
He'd say that picking and choosing mind. Picking and choosing mind. He was always talking about the picking and choosing. I prefer this, I don't like this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be sitting here.
Okay.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like picking and choosing mind.
Preferring. Yeah. Yeah, many ways to talk about these kind of things.
I have a question, suddenly. If anyone of us practicing here does something wrongly in Zazen, is it useful to talk about it, or just Zazen is Zazen? I mean, like, if I only sit and concentrate on breathing, intentionally, and
well, you have to say so, because nobody else can guess what you're doing.
yeah. And my question is, does it matter? Or is it useful to talk about it?
In general, doesn't make, there's no benefit, but if you, in concrete, if we talk about actual person who actually did, then that person can tell us. Was it you?
No.
No. So the generalization doesn't have any meaning, really.
What was the point of your question? I didn't catch.
That last two people who described something that happened in their meditation, and it seems to be different.
What's different? When you say what happened in their meditation, you mean the kind of mental processes, kind of movement in their brain, because we were all sitting like this. So I didn't see anybody doing something very different.
Mm. But I guess that your view is shorter than mine. That your stories are shorter than mine.
Maybe.
So I'm asking if it matters, or you say, no, Zazen is Zazen. You may breathe, you may have long stories, you may intentionally create black dog, you may do whatever you want, but Dogen wrote this to do Zazen like this.
Zazen is the same for everybody. Yeah. The beginner and the master is the same.
Mm.
He wrote.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can be measured by magnetic resonance.
Mm.
Yes, they done it. Because they put some metabolite, something in the brain, and then know the process where it's going on, and then in milliseconds. I saw a document about this. Some monk meditated.
Oh yeah. If you measure.
Now it's starting some thought. Also, they could measure exactly, and he wrong or I think.
Yeah. So
something like that.
Dogen doesn't mean that all our zazen are the same. We all have same processes. He means that sitting in zazen is practicing balance. So whether you're practicing balance for the first time or you've been doing it for 40 years, you are still practicing balance.
Yeah, but it's described somehow, the approach.
You mean
in the Vendova.
Do you mean Shikantatsa?
Yes, of course. I think that is about. Today I said, Pavel, that sometimes in Zazen I have a long story about drainage. And Miro said that he has long stories about amplifiers. and Pavel said, oh my god! Like his stories are probably shorter or his approach is a bit different.
Shall I tell you my stories?
Well, we all have stories.
Of course, yes.
So you have a long story, then you wake up from the story. So.
And you might come and say, your stories are too long. But it seems that your answer is no. It's okay.
What I tried in the past and what would work for me was that if I had so many very intensive stories and took a long time, I just wrote it down because it seemed to me like, oh, my whole brain is full of stuff. I wrote it down, it was maybe half page. Right? And then suddenly I realized that it's not so many things, and then it stopped. I just wrote it down and it stopped. It was like.
But it's like jogging. Do you do it every day? If you do it every day, you become better at it. Better. No, you get used to it. You repeat it.
You improve.
He's like Pavlov duck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard my keyboard, so I woke up.
Yeah. You improve. So, how many people practice Zazen every day?
Every day?
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day, yeah. Five times a week.
Okay. Well, it makes a difference. Same as if you practice something, music. If you're learning the piano and you practice every day, you get better.
Do you agree with Robert? We can get better?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Zahral som ti nasmieč, jak sa to hovorí, I don't know how to say in English.
No, I think it's a paradox. You're getting better in not getting better. You gradually realize that there's no point in getting better, so you just sit stupidly. And I've been practicing for 25 years. I remember the first 5 or 10 years I was looking for something and I compare myself to others. Now I usually sit just like a frog, like stupidly just sit, sometimes fall asleep, sometimes wake up. But I'm not getting anywhere, just sit.
Yeah, but somehow it's better to sit every day or few times a week than once a month.
I don't know, because I sit every day.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't have to be Zazen. If you practice balance every day, then you will maintain your balance, which you have already. Everybody has balance, but if you don't practice balance, your balance is like this. Happy, happy, happy. Depressed. Drunk, drunk. Oh, miserable. Businessmen are sometimes like this. In the evening they relax and go and greet other business people and drink, and then next morning, ooh. So that's one kind of balance. There's balance there, but it's a bit wobbly, isn't it? So if you practice balance every day, you don't wobble so much.
If you are doing a boring thing, I think you are working
Yes.
in a place you don't like, you do
Yes.
some work you don't like, then maybe you don't have so extreme emotion.
Yeah.
And every day you are unsatisfied or boring.
then
Yeah.
it's also you are maybe somehow balanced.
No, if you're bored and unsatisfied, it's kind of slightly depressed state. So if you're balanced, you can affirm what you're doing. But there's no perfect balance. Balance is this. Riding a bicycle. Not this. This is only in our brain.
Many patients tell me, or many, okay, that they are doing some work, some business, or some job they don't like, and they are okay, they are not so happy, or
Yeah, lots of people like that.
and they don't do any decision, or they don't
Yes.
try to do something.
Yeah, lots of people are suppressed by modern society, which is like a big machine.
Yeah.
And people have to fit into the machine. So earn your money, spend your money, and then that's your place. So if you're very unhappy in your work, I guess either you can try to affirm what you're doing, or change it.
Yeah. It's not my case. But
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's very spread between people.
Yes.
And I mean on the
Yeah.
patient, no,
That's one of the problems of modern life. So many people are powerless.
That is make very big influence to their life.
Yeah.
Their health also.
Yeah.
Balance. Balance. Also.
Yeah. Well, modern society is a bit mad.
Extreme, but
Modern society is mad. It's insane. Crazy. So many people are suffering from that. Oh, stop now, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.